Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole if you're new, and I love sharing my home cooking with you. So today we are back in the kitchen because today we are going to be making a really delicious, hopefully delicious, surf and turf dinner meal. Now we are still in Father's Day mode this week, so I'm making this meal in gratitude of my husband since Father's Day is coming up. And I typically do these a little bit earlier in the week because we like to do other things like on the actual holidays, so I'm just not just stuck in the kitchen. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this meal today. And we are beginning with our butter swim biscuits. So I have a stick of butter that I'm gonna toss in my 8x8 pan, and I'm just gonna throw that into my oven that's preheating to get this to melt. All right, so while we have that working in the oven, I'm gonna start on my biscuit dough with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, Biscuits and I have a love-hate relationship, as in I love to eat them, but I hate making them, only because 4 teaspoons of baking powder, only because sometimes they turn out great and sometimes they turn out super hard. I don't know what it is, but it's just like a 50-50 chance for me to get biscuits like really great. So I technically have never made swim biscuits before, but I've been seeing a ton of people making them online now. Online now. And they remind me more of like a drop biscuit, which are much more easier to do for me than traditional biscuits. I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of sugar. So that's what kind of convinced me to try them. Plus, there's so many different variations that people are doing now on swim biscuits. I've seen strawberry swim biscuits, blueberry swim biscuits. Today, since those aren't really good with my vibe of surf and turf, I'm just going with regular swim biscuits today. I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of salt in here. The butter that I have melting in my 8x8 pan is unsalted butter, just what I have on hand right now. So I'm just gonna mix up my dry here, super easy. And now I'm gonna add my buttermilk. I just had to pull my butter out of the oven right now because I heard it bubbling. So I think we should, and it's getting a little bit brown, but I think we'll be fine. So I just pulled it out really quick. Now I'm gonna add 2 cups of buttermilk in here. And also what attracted me to this recipe, it being easy, but no yeast, no kneading. So that's just way more my vibe for this meal. Something much more low maintenance. So the goal is to make it seem like more of a decadent meal because we don't do surf and turf very often at home. Like we order it more at restaurants. So I want to do something special for Father's Day, but not super high maintenance, if that makes sense. Because I love making home meals, I love cooking and knowing what's in my food. I don't necessarily love for it to be like really complicated. So if you watched my most recent video I uploaded for my Oreo fudge poke cake that I made for Father's Day this year, the whole reason I did that was also because it was simple and low maintenance. Now you don't want to over mix this because they can get kind of hard from what I read. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my butter. Here is my pan. You can see it browned up just a bit, but I think we're fine. And I'm gonna add my mixture just right on top. Like that. And make sure I get everything in there. I can hear that my oven is ready. So I preheated to 450 degrees. And I'm just gonna spread it out slightly throughout my pan. And definitely okay if some of the butter kind of pools on top as well. And for swim biscuits, what I've seen is that you want to score it ahead of time. So I'm just going to take my spoon and drag it to make some scoring cut lines. Just like that. I think that looks good. All right, now we're gonna head to the oven and we're gonna bake these. We're gonna check at 20 minutes. So it says 20 to 28 minutes. So we'll see how long it takes. All right, now I wanna go ahead and get started on my sides. Oh, and earlier, so for my turf, yes, my turf portion of this meal, I just have some petite sirloin steaks in here. Earlier, I just went ahead and added some oil, salt, and pepper to those, and this Kinder's caramelized butter seasoning that I've been really loving these days. I've been using it on a lot of things. So I just put that on the steaks just to let it marinate for a bit while we prep our other items in this meal. So today I want to do potatoes, but we always do like mashed potatoes because we really love them, but I want to switch it up and do a little something different and special. So I'm going to use these mini gold potatoes, and I want to make them into like crispy Parmesan smashed potatoes. So something a little extra, but using ingredients that I kind of already have on hand. So first, we need to get these boiling in some water because I need to get them fork tender before we smash them and bake them later in the oven. So I'm just gonna add into some salted water and get these boiling on the stove. All right, so I have my potatoes working on the stove. Now, I'm gonna start on my Brussels by getting them prepped. I already have them washed. I just need to get them trimmed up. So for our Brussels sprouts today, I'm going to keep them relatively simple and easy on myself. So I'm actually just gonna be placing these in the air fryer to cook up. So I'm just going to go through and have them for the larger ones, and I'll probably just leave the small ones as is. I really like them cooked up in the air fryer, and my husband also enjoys a lot of the vegetables I put in the air fryer anyway. So I'm getting these prepped, and I also have rosemary that I'm going to be adding to the butter in my steak pan. And oh, I guess we didn't talk about what our surf part is today for the meal. So for the surf part, I wanted to do scallops because that's sort of like a treat for us. We don't get them very often just because they're a little on the pricier side. So those are more for us like a special occasion type of addition to a meal. So I just went ahead and got the frozen scallops. Let me show you. These are the ones from Open Nature, and I've been leaving them on my counter to thaw because they are frozen. So these are the petite, like bay scallops. They're really small, even though we prefer the larger ones. Like I think maybe they're called the colossal size. Something like that. We prefer the larger ones, but those are really pricey. So the petite ones were the most cost effective at the store, which is fine because we'll still enjoy those. And what's great is that my husband, he's not even like really super picky anyways. He'll pretty much love whatever I cook, which is the nice thing. So that'll be totally fine. So what my plan is to cook up the steaks in the pan with my butter and rosemary. And I want to do the same with the scallops. So I'm not going to do anything super fancy with them today because like I said, I want to keep this meal like not I want to keep it simple and not make something really complex and, you know, kind of kill myself over doing something fancy. I just want to make good food that I know that we'll enjoy, especially my husband. So for the rosemary, I have just a bunch that I cut off in my front yard. So I try to use rosemary as much as I can when I'm doing, especially when I'm doing meals like this, where rosemary will really complement what's going into these meals, because I seriously have like 3 or 4 rosemary bushes in my front yard. So it's very plentiful here at my home, and rather than, it's not like it goes to waste because the bush is always there, but I just want to make use out of it, especially when it would go so well with what we're eating. So I'm going to leave a couple of my rosemary stems whole to throw in the pan with the butter, and then I'm kind of stripping off a few of the, what would you call these, stalks, stems? Stripping off a few of them so that I can cut it up for some garnish. It also smells really good. Like, rosemary is so strong, but it smells great. Plus, with the flavors we have going on in here with the steak, I have Parmesan potatoes. I just really think that this will complement it very nicely. So I'm gonna chop up just roughly a bit of this. Now for my Brussels sprouts that we have all trimmed up, I'm just gonna add a splash of some avocado oil on here and some salt and pepper, and just mix this around a bit. And that is all I am doing for these Brussels sprouts, because I actually really enjoy just the actual flavor and taste of Brussels sprouts. I know a lot of people don't, but we do. Both my husband and I, we really enjoy them. So maybe next time or another time, I will fancy them up a bit with some other ingredients, maybe like bacon or something. But today, I'm really feeling the vibe of keeping the meal nice and simple. All right, so I'm gonna set these aside until we're ready to throw them in the air fryer. It has been 21 minutes in the oven, so I just pulled these out because they look about done, very hot. I will say they smell really good, and there's some good crispy edges we got going on here. So I think my scoring only works slightly. So we're just gonna let them here. We're just gonna sit them here for a minute, and then we'll put them somewhere else to get them warm, to keep them warm while we're working on the rest of our dinner. Now, my potatoes are fork tender, most of them. There's like 2 other big ones in there that are kind of struggling to get there. So I left those in for a couple minutes, and I just have them on a piece of parchment paper on a baking sheet. Now I'm just going to spread them out so that we can get them smashed. I have a glass here. I'm gonna take my glass and just start smashing away. And I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees. And we're gonna get these in there, I think maybe about 15 minutes, 20. We'll see how long it takes for them to crisp up nicely. Okay, I grabbed the last 2. These are the bigger ones, you can tell. All right, so now I'm just gonna add a little bit of avocado oil to these. And I'm just gonna brush the tops of it, just like that. And add a good amount of salt and pepper on here. Potatoes really need salt. And then I have some Parmesan cheese, like a mini handful on each of these, and just a little bit of our chopped up rosemary. And I'm gonna get these into the oven. We'll check them in about 15 minutes. I'm at 400 degrees. All right, I have some oil, avocado oil, heating up in my pan right now for the steaks. At this point, I want to take my Brussels sprouts and get them in the air fryer. That's at 375. We'll see how it looks in about 15-20 minutes in there. Now I'm going to add in my steaks. And I want to try and get a nice sear on this side before I flip and add the rosemary. All right, it has been a few minutes. I think they're ready to flip. We got some great color going on here. Next, I want to add my butter. Stalks of rosemary right in there. I'll sort of try and get that butter infused. And I want to pour it over my steaks. Just like that. And I'm probably going to take these off now. And they are smelling so good, by the way. Okay, so I just lifted my steaks out of here. I turned this to low because it is a very hot pan. But I'm going to get a little crazy. I'm going to add a little more butter before adding in my scallops. I'm going to add just a splash of some white wine in here. I'm going to turn up the heat to a little bit medium. Just a splash. I'll kind of deglaze a little bit and get our scallops in. Now I am going to let these sit in here for a couple minutes before I start to do anything about moving them around. Alright, it has been like a minute or two, so I'm going to go ahead and give these a little toss in our little rosemary butter white wine concoction we made. And I did that mostly because I have the wine on hand and it needs to get used. And I think it'll add just a little something. So scallops cook really quickly, so I'm only going to leave these here maybe another minute or two, and then they're basically done. Plus these are the really small ones that I show you, the petite scallops, so I don't want to go overboard on the cooking process for these. But our steaks are resting up anyway, so we're good. I just cut up my steak. Check that out. Now I'm gonna pour a little bit of that juice right on top. Because all of that is flavor. I think it came out perfect. And we'll garnish with a little bit of parsley. And I even gave a little sample taste. Chef's kiss. Pretty proud of myself on that one. I'm gonna add my scallops into this dish here because I want it to have all of this yummy sauce with it. And then I'm gonna add some on the top of my steaks here. These scallops I also just garnished with a little bit of parsley. And my Brussels sprouts came out of the air fryer very crispy, which is exactly how I like them. I'll pile those those right next to our steaks. I love the little crispy bits that you get. Those are so good. And we have our smashed potatoes straight out of the oven. I'm gonna add those right here as well. That cheese got super crispy. And I'm gonna cut up my biscuits. All I did was add just a tad bit more butter to the tops of these, but it has a ton in there, so I think we're good. So I'm just gonna cut these up. All right, everyone, that is it for this Father's Day surf and turf dinner. I don't even know what to say about this other than 10 out of 10. It actually didn't even take me that long to pull off, and which was exactly what I was going for. So everything came out so good, especially the steak I really loved. But I think for me, the star was the scallops in that sort of white wine and butter rosemary sauce. They were delicious. I mean, I love scallops, but these scallops with that sauce, it was like restaurant quality, but at home that I made myself. Oh, even my toddler ate up a bunch of these scallops. I was surprised, but don't even care. Glad he loved them. But my husband's favorite part, he loved the meats, he loved the proteins. He actually really loved the Brussels sprouts. The little crispy edges, like I said, were my favorite. And he loved those buttermilk swim biscuits, which is a total win for me because like I said, I'm a little iffy on biscuits, and these ones, they were so easy to do and they came out perfect. They were moist, not too dense or heavy, but still give you, you know, like that biscuit goodness. But thank you for sticking with me on this one. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you give me a thumbs up because it would really help out my channel. If you want to see more of my home cooking, make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the videos I got coming out soon. Make sure you watch the dessert for Father's Day that we already worked on previously with our triple chocolate Oreo poke cake, because we're gonna have a piece of that next. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.